Welcome back to Mostly Growth, the #1 podcast in product monetization.
Bonjour.
How's it going, CJ?
Oh, it's going great. That was my cue. It's like I got invited to SNL and forgot all my lines. I never drink wine, like ever. And we made new friends. When you make friends, like as an adult, you kind of like go with the flow, try to feel each other out. We went over to our new friend's house.
Yeah, you try to seem as normal as possible. You're like, we're not weird, we're not weird, we're not weird.
And they're like, oh, do you want some, what they call it, sparkling red wine? So they offer me some nice wine. I'm like, hell yeah, I do. Like I haven't had wine in like a decade.
Wait, you haven't had wine in a decade?
I'm a Miller Lite guy, Kyle. I'm a simple man. Dude, I was violently hungover for Father's Day off of 2 glasses of wine. I didn't know I lost my fastball to that extent.
You are a lightweight. I mean, the red wine, though, that's what'll do it. The tannins or whatever, I don't know what it is. I think it's the tannins in the red wine. It doesn't seem like it's red wine because it's sparkling. So you're like, oh, yeah, this is fine. But I feel like I have the worst hangovers when I drink red wine, too.
Ben, do you drink wine?
Yeah, it's good stuff. You ever go to a vineyard and then you just pretend like you're, oh yeah, this tastes like the ocean. You know, you can just say whatever.
They all taste like stone fruit somehow.
But this week, Kyle, it's the IPO of the year. Did you hear about it?
SpaceX?
No, that already happened. Try again.
Anthropic?
Okay, close. It's Lime Scooters.
I've ridden a Lime scooter. You can pull these up on Uber, right?
Yeah, so they have a big partnership with Uber. I just did an S1 teardown on them. 14% of their revenue comes to Uber. Uber is also their largest investor. And the CEO was Dara, Uber CEO's chief of staff before he went over to Lime.
So why has Uber not bought them?
They bought Uber's micromobility startup during the funding round. So basically, Uber gave them their piece of their scooter business, what was left of it, and then they consolidated it. And then Uber put 85 million on the balance sheet to help it during COVID. But this is like a crazy story where they went from having 6 months of runway heading into COVID to having 20 days of runway when everything shut down. And since then, they've had to take on all these crazy term loans and all this debt. And so the company is actually now cash flow positive, adjusted EBITDA positive. It is working. They're growing at 29% year over year, but they have this debt that they need to repay. And the private market doesn't love micromobility. So they're actually forced into doing this IPO. And it actually says in the prospectus that they might not be a going concern in 12 months if they're not able to have this IPO.
That's not a great risk factor. What's the revenue?
They're doing about 850 million in revenue.
How many active users do they claim?
It's 40% gross margin, 50% if you adjust out the depreciation and amortization. But the DNA is really the cost of the scooters that break and you have to fix. You probably shouldn't do that. They had 19 million users last year and they have over 1 million monthly active users.
That's not a very high active rate.
19 million?
Their users are not using their product very frequently.
Kyle, it's a great product. If you've never fallen off a Lime scooter, you're not really living.
I only use those when I'm in Austin, Texas. And for some reason, you cannot walk anywhere.
The network gets better the more scooters you add. The usability of it goes up. Like the revenue per scooter ends up going up the more scooters you add counterintuitively, because if you can't walk out and see a scooter there immediately, and where you have to walk, it's going to be either 15 minutes to walk or 5 minutes to scooter there. Well, I'm already halfway to my destination. Or it's so far that you're going to call an Uber. So you need to have it within the vicinity of 1 minute walking in order for it to be viable.
I have a feeling this is not the hottest IPO of the year.
Could be if you could get your head around it. I'll be watching. $1.8 billion valuation they're targeting, $25 a share. Will it go higher? I don't know. Not investment advice.
I'm going to be waiting for grapefruit.
Wait, is that a company?
No, just another citrus fruit.
From Mostly Media, it's Mostly Growth. Go-to-market strategist Kyle Poyer and CFO CJ Gustafson break down how modern companies make money, covering pricing, monetization, and benchmarks in ways that make you better at your job. Tactics and playbooks for finance, product, and sales operators looking to be the CEO of their role. This is Mostly Growth.
Let's get serious, CJ. I have a serious game for you today.
I feel like I'm about to look silly, but I'm game to play.
So we've talked a lot about AI for go-to-market over the last 6 months or so. It's a frequent topic whenever we have a guest on. And I thought it would be cool to go through some of the AI go-to-market use cases that are popping up, both emerging use cases and ones that are starting to become more solid. I wanted you to blind rank these. So I'm going to go through these. We'll talk about them one by one, but I'm not going to tell you which ones come next. Now, there's going to be 8 in total. So number 1, you were saying this is the best, absolute best AI go-to-market use case that every company should be doing. 8th would be the absolute worst. Why are people doing this? Makes no sense.
So it's like golf, lower's better, but I also don't know what you're going to say next.
Exactly.
All right, I'm game.
People can roast you in the comments if you get it wrong. All right. The first VP or C-level chief of staff. Now, what this use case does is he's kind of the copilot for anyone that's an executive, gives them a morning briefing ahead of each meeting, helps them focus on the most important priority for the day and just have all the context going into their day, reviews the status of major projects and tasks, based on email and Slack, really like helps someone focus their day and then wrap up the day well.
This sounds like a made-up thing that we didn't actually need, and now we're just using AI to create something. So I'm going to go 8.
Off the bat, not even saving it. Most teams actually are using AI this way. I do get the personal productivity. Like if your goal is to look good internally and like be prepared for every meeting. So I use Lightfield as a CRM. They're one of our partners. Shout out. They do send me a morning briefing email every morning. Tells me like, hey, here's who you're going to meet with today. Here's all the email context and like additional context to help you prepare for the meeting. I do find those emails to be helpful. I just don't feel like this is something that we should be spending a ton of tokens on and like that we should be like lionizing as a major AI use case.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this feels like a vitamin, not a painkiller.
Exactly. So this is something that like I do think a lot of teams are doing. There's some of value in here. While it's become common, it's one of those things that like it wasn't really that broken before AI. And so it's a little better after AI. Ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
A synthetic ICP or digital twin. You can feed AI engines like whether ChatGPT or Claude, all the context you have around your target customer. So like, let's say you're targeting like chief information security officers at Fortune 500 banks. You throw out all your case studies, all your past win-loss interviews, transcripts, a bunch of market research, and it creates a simulation of people in this market. And then anytime you've got like new positioning, new messaging, a new website copy, new pricing, a new outbound, you can test it against the simulated buyer to get feedback, kind of like a focus group without talking to humans.
So you can kind of steelman your own ideas, like poke holes in this if you took on the persona of XYZ.
Exactly.
I really like this. I don't want to use up 1 or 2.
Why do you really like it? What draws you to it?
I really like it because I think this could be a product marketer's best friend. Like if you're so in the weeds in your own job, like you know the product, but what's hard is to get out of that and be like, if someone had a little bit less context and was in the weeds of their own business, how would this reflect on them? And it's very difficult sometimes to get out of that headspace because you know what you know, but it's hard to put yourself in their shoes. AI has better context in whatever job that person is probably working, especially if you in your job as a go-to-market person, like say you're selling into CFOs, but you've never been an accounting person. I think this could be extremely valuable to bounce ideas around like, hey, you have the context of a CPA with 12 years of in-house experience. How would this messaging resonate to you?
It's always like certain verticals where like maybe you're like selling into roofing or something.
Or a dentist.
And maybe the founder of the company like was a dentist or like their parents were a dentist or something. And it's like they get it. But then the sales rep you're hiring, the marketer, the product manager, they don't know what this persona cares about and how to talk to them. So what's your ranking on the 1 to 8?
I'm going to go 3, Allen Iverson.
I worry about the accuracy here. AI can confidently pretend to be your buyer persona, but like do you think it can actually get this right today?
What I would worry about is it actually knows the right answer, but it wants to be a people pleaser. And it's like, absolutely.
This is a great website copy. I love it. I would buy immediately.
Somebody uploaded like text messages of a girl who's obviously saying like she's not interested. AI came back. It's like, oh, she's not saying she's not interested. She's just saying she's busy right now or something like that. I'd be worried about those type of signals coming out of it.
I'm not convinced it's going to be totally accurate, but I feel like it like gets treated as accurate. Maybe you're like trying to name something and you give it 3 names and AI tells you this one is best. Like you're just going to default to be like, all right, I guess our like the thing that we built says this is best. So like, let's use this. and it's going to stop you from actually talking to real human customers. And it's going to like make you maybe lose some of your own taste and judgment because you just sort of rely on this thing that's inherently artificial and has no taste. I love the concept for like onboarding new employees and like getting people up to speed. I don't love it for like really important problems.
I've never been a dentist. I've never been an auto mechanic. But if it's like for my own newsletter, I'm going to rely upon my gut instinct and what I think is cool rather than AI.
To me, if you're a vertical specific company, I think it's worth it to build one of these things and then have it be a really great onboarding tool for your junior employees and a first pass to give them feedback before something gets to their boss. I do like that use case. On the recruiting side, like you have the talent screener, but they're not the hiring manager.
Hey, thanks for listening. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Ollie and the team at Tabs are building something that directly addresses one of the biggest headaches I see finance teams deal with today. Pulling data from your ERP, your CRM, your FP&A tools, and your usage systems and actually making it all work together. If you're running usage-based pricing or complex contracts, you already know how this usually plays out. Contracts live in one system, usage data lives somewhere else, billing happens in another tool. RevRec gets layered on top at month end, and finance ends up just reconciling everything by hand to close the books. This is exactly the problem Tabs was built to solve. Tabs is an AI-native revenue platform built for controllers and CFOs. It brings together data from your ERP, CRM, and real product usage into a single system of record. From there, it automates billing, collections, and revenue recognition without finance having to duct tape workflows together every month. If usage-based revenue is core to your business, this is the future of how billing and RevRec get done. Go check them out at tabs.com/run. That's tabs.com/run.
When I looked to set up my first CRM at Growth Unhinged, I knew I wanted something that was actually AI first. The world has evolved. Most CRMs are still stuck in the 90s. I found Lightfield, the CRM that remembers everything and does the work for you. It joins all my sales calls, reads my emails, and has the full context on every account. At this point, Lightfield knows my deals better than I do. I haven't had to set up a single CRM dashboard. Instead, I simply ask Lightfield questions like, which deals in my pipeline are most likely to close, or who do I need to follow up with today? It even automatically prepares me for meetings with a personalized daily briefing, and setup was quick and surprisingly painless. Lightfield is my sales coach, RevOps analyst, therapist, EA, all in one. See Lightfield for yourself with a 14-day free trial. Connecting data from your inbox takes just 5 minutes, and you can migrate in under an hour. Go to lightfield.app, that's LIGHTFIELD.app, and use code MOSTLYGROWTH to get 3 months free. When I went all in on my newsletter, Growth Unhinged, last year, I quickly decided it was time to make the switch to beehiiv. I chose beehiiv because they're serious about powering the internet's best newsletters. beehiiv's all-in-one platform brings together newsletters, websites, and every tool you need to grow and earn. And they keep making it better. You can now launch, host, and monetize your podcast entirely on beehiiv. You can host webinars on beehiiv, and you can access beehiiv through the new MCP. I just use beehiiv's MCP in Claude Cowork to audit my site, prioritize SEO fixes, and analyze subscriber trends. It's my newest obsession. If you care about owning your audience, beehiiv is a no-brainer. Try beehiiv for free by going to beehiiv.com. That's BEEHIIV.com. Use Kyle30 for 30% off your first 3 months. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Writing LinkedIn posts in your own voice. For a while, like a lot of people tried AI written content that was generally like pretty weak and just sounded like AI. Increasingly, I'm seeing people say, hey, we can actually make AI like much better at sounding like us. So we'll train Claude on all the past content, on our tone of voice. We'll build skills, and then we'll also feed it source material. So you can upload like a podcast that you guested on, your call recordings, a newsletter that you wrote, and basically say like, hey, write a LinkedIn post using my voice and using this source material. So with that context, what do you think about this?
800.
Is this your 7?
I think I'm like overly highly attuned to what words and sentence structures are from AI. Like, it's not this, it's that. Or genuinely, whenever I see that word, like AI's ruined the word genuinely.
Everything's in 3s.
I think I just notice it more than other people because I write for a living now. And I'm also a little bit bitter because I did this newsletter post just came out on net dollar retention rate trends. Some guy took my image, took my article, put it through AI. Definitely didn't use any sort of writing skill to say, like, put this in this voice, just no effort. And that one is getting more likes than mine that I
Oh,
actually wrote. And I'm like, what the?
not that it's a contest, but you lost that contest.
Thanks, Kyle.
No, I'm with you though. I really struggle with this because I get the desire to do it. If you're ghostwriting for a CEO, for example, it's already like ghostwritten content. Like it's not actually written by this person. And so you're kind of making Claude like a, initial ghostwriter or something. The artificialness stands out to me so much. Once I have the faintest suspicion that it's AI written, I just stop reading the rest of it. Was this Paul Graham or something wrote about this on Twitter? Like as soon as he reads an email that seems a little bit AI written, he just dismisses it.
He did write that, and I couldn't agree more. I think it's becoming like almost more of an insult to like email people with just AI written stuff. We were joking before, like how we're both using Fixer, if it's really just two fixers going back and forth to prepare for these podcasts.
I want this to be a thing, and I've tried it so many times just to see like, hey, now that the AI models are better, will I like this more? And I keep just struggling. And so where I'm trying to lean in right now is like finding more of my own voice and like being more comfortable with things like memes or trying to be funny or just like taking some risks in writing that I would not otherwise. I still do a ton of that, to be clear, but I'm trying to do more of it to have more personality and less AI.
I agree. And even like throwing in a spelling error once in a while, it's almost a style point.
I had a spelling error in a recent post and someone called that out, thinking I added that on purpose to an otherwise AI written piece so that people wouldn't think it was AI written. I was like, you're really overthinking this.
That is next level shade.
Ready for your fourth one? Creating research briefs ahead of sales calls. So getting like the company snapshot, the contact info, the competitive context, conversation starters, objection prep. And ideally you get the prep delivered over Slack or email, and you maybe get like a short couple slides that you can use to start off the call, tailored your normal pitch for that audience.
I think it's somewhat related to the first one we did, but I think this is a strong use case. And a lot of times in these demos and first calls, you're looking for any sniff of just proprietary info to make them like you more and to be like, they really made this for me. This is not the standard 4-slide deck they use on everybody trying to sell the CRM. I like this one, even though it sounds basic. I think it could have immediate tactical use cases in like a meeting today. So I'm going to go 2.
To me, with sales conversations, it makes a big difference if the sales rep seems like they want the deal and are like working for it. Even in my personal, like if I'm hiring a landscaper or something and someone's like come over a little bit early, checked out the landscaping, maybe notice like what kinds of plants are there. If they've just done a little bit of thinking ahead of a meeting, it makes the biggest difference.
And also, like, to make sure you don't mix up stuff. Like, I got on a call for some sort of tool, and the person's like, "In your run the numbers newsletter," or something, or like, they kept, like, mixing up the different things, and I'm like, "It's a small thing, but it's, like, a big thing to me that you're, like, completely butchering what the business output is and what the products are called."
I had a person not use AI that reached out and was like, I think that like my best friend used to work with your wife. That's A, oddly specific, and B, I don't have a wife.
I kind of applaud the boldness of that, though. Like, this is gonna work on 40% of the population.
Their friend did work with my husband. I was like, oh yeah, you mean John?
My wife, John.
I'm going to give you the next use case. Vibe coding your own personal AI CRM with Claude. You feed Claude like access to your Gmail, all your call recordings, your calendar, your analytics, your Stripe, and then you can use it to be like a pipeline analyst, catching opportunities, stuck deals, follow-ups that might have slipped, creating custom reports, maybe having Claude recommend like the next actions you should take in drafting follow-ups.
Can it sit on top of my CRM, or does this have to be the CRM?
This would also work to connect an existing like CRM that was not very AI friendly, but had a good like MCP connection. So yes, you could do this with an existing CRM.
I feel much better about that. But if I'm like a $1 billion company, I'm like, I'm going to vibe code Salesforce. Like, not a good use of tokens, probably won't work. We're actually trying to build something to keep us more organized with our own spreadsheets for the recruiting side of the business, mostly talent. Because we were looking at some of the tools and we want to get to them eventually, but we're like, let's place X number of heads before we commit to X thousands of dollars. And so we're trying to come up with a lightweight solution using Claude. So you can type in like, who are directors of FP&A in either Texas or Connecticut, you know? And so I think for smaller companies, you can come up with lightweight stuff. And then I think for bigger companies, being able to sit on top of a larger system that's not AI native, that could be a great use case, especially if it's on the fly and you're like on your mobile device, just trying to think of who that account was.
What are you scoring this guy?
6. I don't love it, but it's serviceable.
Having something like this can make a CRM going from something that like is more of a database to something that actually like helps drive the next action and is like much more tailored. I just don't think it's like the best thing to vibe code yourself because like I think the connections will break. I think you'll kind of constantly have to refeed it stuff. I would much rather just like go with an off the shelf tool. Like you should be able to go with an AI native CRM like a Lightfield or we interviewed the AI earlier as well. I think you should expect this in a CRM and like this should be part of the buying criteria. There's the build versus buy and everyone is now like building because it's cool to build. But like you can actually buy something that's probably better than what you built yourself.
I think that's the next wave here where you just expect it and the build option isn't nearly as attractive.
All right, got a few more. Inbound lead scoring. You have lead come in, like a demo request. You do a waterfall enrichment, pulling in different data providers, bringing in custom web scraping for bespoke data points that are maybe not available off the shelf, or you maybe need to like visit a website or visit other sources. And then you use these inputs to have AI create a custom sort of score and recommendation of like, they're qualified, they're not qualified, or like this needs extra attention and a human review.
I'm going to the bank, baby. I'm using my number 1 on this.
You're using your number 1. Interesting. Why is that?
I've seen how marketing ops teams work, and it is a total cluster to filter all these different criteria into a clean lead score. It takes a while. It's often fraught with assumptions that you don't remember why you made them. And if you're a company that is filtering through a lot, like if it's successful, it gets harder at scale to score the leads. And if you're getting better leads over time, then you want to know what the newest ones are, the incremental ones are relative to the latest batch, not like all time. So I look at lead scoring as something that's in that messy middle where like there is a path that you can get some of it done deterministically. And there's a path where you have somebody literally look through each account and score based on their own like mental view of it. But this feels like something that blends a ton of data from disparate sources and has the context of other accounts that you're not going to be able to remember off the bat.
Yeah, I like this use case a lot. Like I've built lead scoring. I've seen companies that have done, manual or like these super intense signals. And the super intense models will be like, all right, downloaded an ebook. That's plus 25 points. They like are in this geo. That's plus 10. They're in this geo. That's minus 5. And it's like, super scientific. Some of the things just are so important, they kind of supersede everything else. And often like the data, it's like it's based on data, but like the data's missing. And so that impacts the score. And like realistically, it's a judgment call. And I'd rather, instead of artificially constrain the data sources to like what you can measure and then having this like falsely precise thing, I'd rather just feed the available data and have like someone with some sort of reasoning capability to make a judgment call.
That's what I was dancing around. There are way more judgment calls involved in this, and it's often different people making judgment calls in the same data set.
If you're looking at a larger company, they could get classified as like so many different industry verticals. And so if you're like, hey, our top industries are X, Y, and Z. And so we're going to prioritize leads in X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, they've got a bunch of different divisions. Your like one size fits all classification is just not going to cover that. But you're probably going to want to talk to Boeing if they reach out.
I messed this up my first ever internship. We had a lead come in from CA, which I didn't know was like a huge software company. For some reason, it was like a division of it. And so I scored it as SMB. And the CEO was like, this is like the largest software company in the world. And I used to work there.
Oh, man. Yeah, AI beats CJ in this case. Got a couple more, and you've used your number 1 already. You used your number 1, number 2, and number 3. So you're going to have to get creative here. The next one is micro campaigns via AI agents. And this is when I talked to Brendan Short from the Signal on. The idea here is you define your target account list. So maybe you got 1,000 target accounts. You also define the signal sources. So scrape job post data, G2 reviews, maybe LinkedIn engagement on your post, first party data that you have, like your website visitors. And the agent like periodically scans your target account list, so like on a set cadence, and looks for multiple of these signals that fire. And so, for example, like a website visit and the company is showing like an initiative that's related to what your product does. Like that's a really interesting combination. And then basically the agent can build the list of, hey, these are accounts where signals have fired and generate like campaign specific copy. And so an example could be like a past champion and an existing customer changes jobs. They move to a new account on your target list. Here's a campaign already written and scheduled to go after this audience.
Does this exist today?
Sophisticated teams are doing this. Yeah.
Used up my good ones. I only got 4 and 5 left. I guess I gotta go 4. Yeah, this sounds great if you can pull it off. I started to hear you go. I was like, I think he's just making up something he wishes existed.
We've talked before about like data-driven go-to-market teams and like the rise of things like go-to-market engineering. This is the kind of play that a GTM engineer would build. A year or two ago, you used to build with more of an automation-centric approach. So like if X, then Y. And the signals would be like, if a company have a job post that references something or what your product does, this is a signal. And now it's a little bit smarter where the signals are, you're looking for multiple signals and you can use the signals to have much more customized copy drafted so that you know like why you're reaching out at the right time, and you have a message that feels tailored.
Yeah, if I think about like what my wife used to do in ABM marketing, that was a heavy lift to try to create this type of engagement and specificity around the persona and the signal. So I think this is a great one if you can pull it off.
All right, you ready for the last one here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's number 5, but let's hear it.
So the last one is a competitive intelligence copilot for sales. And so you feed your battle cards, your competitor comparison pages, your case studies, call transcripts, news sources, research, etc. And then that basically has all of your source of truth around the competitive information and why you're better than certain competitors, or what people should reference when talking about competitors. And then reps can then use this as a co-pilot on deals to get deal specific guidance. So it's like, hey, look, I'm working with a deal in SMB and they mentioned comparing us against X, or they mentioned they already have Y competitor in place. What should I say on this deal to convince them to change? And who are our best case studies that have done this?
I think this is really good because if you're a sales rep and say it's a big company that's had 4,000 customers, you're not gonna be able to remember them all. So if you could be like a health tech company, post Series B, but not yet public, with 500 or more employees, blah, 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 and you could surface something as a case study, and then also pull in the competitive intelligence of like, they just changed their pricing and packaging. You're going to get screwed based on what I know about how your company uses the product. I think that would be incredibly valuable. And I think in general, AI has made sales enablement so much more dynamic than it used to be. I remember seeing some of these like sales battle cards. When I was at Veeam, it would be like, this is Commvault's battle card. We would update it every 3 months. But now, because companies are shifting their pricing and packaging so often, I think you need something that is a living and breathing document.
Yeah, I like this so much better than the static battle cards. I mean, the battle cards go out of date faster than they ever did before, and they were just like totally unusable. There was either like way too much information, and then you had no idea what to do with all that information, and like you weren't going to sort through it all, or the information just like felt kind of generic and wasn't tailored, and so then you'd have to just ask someone about it anyway, and by the time you asked them it was kind of too late. I like this use case. All right, you want to go through what your top 8 were in order? All right, you said number 1, inbound lead scoring. Number 2, creating research briefs ahead of calls. 3, a synthetic like ICP or digital twin. 4, micro campaigns via AI agents. 5 was competitive intelligence copilot for sales. 6, vibe coding your own AI CRM with Claude. 7 was writing LinkedIn posts in your voice. And 8 was a chief of staff for your VP or CMO.
I think I got 8 right. I think if I was to go back, I would make 3 and 4, the micro campaigns and the battle cards, my 1 and 2.
I kept some of the good ones.
I was trying to hold off, and then I got excited and burnt my 1, 2, and 3, and I'm like,
Well, for anyone listening, if you've got other interesting use cases around AI for go-to-market, send us a DM. And if you want to roast CJ's rankings, drop a comment.
Mostly Growth is a Mostly Media production. Executive produced by Ben Hillman. That's me. Additional production by Steve Sarasoli. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of CJ, Kyle, and Ben. Just some guys who love talking growth. Mostly. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe and give us 5 stars. It'd only take like 2 seconds and our algorithm overlords love it. Drink water, call your mom, and have a good day.